evening, guys. How are you all doing? I am well aware that I am sat in my house with my great big yellow puffer coat on. I've literally just come in from doing evening stables. Also, I haven't turned my heating on yet, so sometimes it's a bit nippy in the evening, so there's no harm in wearing a coat. However, I look a little bit like a sumo wrestler because it's such a puffy coat and it removes any sign that I own a neck. Not the most flattering coat, I know. Anyway, I've currently got you stacked up. Wait for this. A tub of miniature heroes, Quality Streets, roses, another tub of miniature heroes, a notebook and a tin, and you are balancing very well. I mean, sadly, no sweets left in any of them. But yes, this is a fine balancing act. So I am currently doing a weekly vlog, and I took some lovely video footage of Sienna doing some dressage groundwork today, and I couldn't believe the progression in her. She's come on so far. And we did a video like this maybe 3 or 4 weeks back now, and I was going to use this footage for this weekly vlog. However, I think it'll get rather lost in there, and I felt like I really wanted to document how much she'd progressed, so that is why it's got a separate vlog of its own, and that is exactly what this vlog is about today. So enjoy. Here we go. So I did double check when I last posted that in-hand dressage video with Sienna, and it was exactly 3 weeks ago. And I haven't done any of this style of work with her for at least a week and a half. She's been doing lots of other things. So initially I'll always walk her around the arena on a long rein. I'll do a few poles, just let her warm up gently. And then when I start the in-hand session, I tend to start her in this much more loose and long, kind of stretched out frame. So I'll have one hand on her noseband, one hand on the stick, and I'll just get her doing a little bit of leg yield. But as you can see, there's not a huge amount of connection there or anything like that, so she's quite free and loose, and so she doesn't do the best crossing over in the leg yield or anything like that. But I quite like her frame to be a little more stretched out to begin with. She tends to carry her head and neck a little bit lower, and I'm more conscious of her bending through her body. So for these leg yields, I do tend to have a little bit more neck bend than what I would do in a dressage test if I was riding her. But I like to do a little bit of back and forth across the arena, which is something she initially couldn't do at all. And when I watched previous videos, I had to put like a little bit of pressure on her to actually move her. So just pointing the stick at her sides wasn't enough. Like, I had to physically help her move over, whereas now really it's just a point of the stick and she totally knows what I'm asking from her. She's still pretty slow. I mean, her hindquarters are going to take some time to strengthen up and be proactive. She's a little bit like a snail when it comes to lateral work, but I think in her own time she will get better and better and stronger, and then she will have more oomph from behind. And like I say, this current way of going is a much more stretched out frame, so she wouldn't be that quick through it anyway. This is just, I feel, a nice way of warming up and a good way for her to stretch over her back. But you should see in a second, I'll then change the way I work her in hand. So rather than having this loose and long connection, I'll start to kind of shorten her up a bit, and you'll see rather than kind of facing her, I'm now working alongside her, so my shoulder along her shoulder. And so now her whole frame has changed. She's a lot shorter, she's a lot more connected, she's a lot more rounded through the neck, and I find then I can have her more angled through some of the lateral work. I can be a little bit more active at keeping our hindquarters moving, because this is the next step in the work. So here we're doing a little bit of shoulder in. I nearly said leg yield, shoulder in. And I think her angles have got a lot stronger. I think before she just would like barely do a shoulder in. Now I think it's a lot more obvious. Again, like I say, I don't have to put any pressure on her to leg yield over or make the shape. It's simply a little bit of pointing with the stick, the occasional tickle with it. She totally understands what I'm asking of her. There's still a lot of tongue action from her. It's better. I think it's not as bad as it was, but it's still there. Maybe with time it will go. Here I'm really enjoying seeing the crossing over. This is something in the past she really struggled with, and now we are seeing her cleanly cross over, which is great. Again, you can see there's no pressure from me whatsoever on her. This is just so much easier than it was before, which is where I'm seeing the progression in her, is that I feel like she can do it with so much more ease. And here I even managed the first tiny baby steps of a half pass. I managed to change the angle of her neck while keeping the quarters coming through, and she did a tiny bit of half pass, which was very exciting. In the trot, you'll see her right side is still so much weaker than her left. She finds it incredibly hard to correctly bend when she's on the right rein, which is why I find doing trot work in hand better than lunging, because on a lunge she doesn't actually bend properly, whereas if I trot her in hand I can help her to make sure that she's bending through her rib cage and through her neck, but she finds it incredibly hard, and I think because her left is so much stronger, the right is really highlighted with just how weak she is. I'm looking for a sort of trot that's it's not quite a trot, it's like a bit of a jog, but I'm liking her transitions in the trot work. I feel like they're so much better than what they were before. She's sort of stepping into the downward transition rather than kind of bouncing for a really long time. Again, I'm having to put a little bit of pressure on her shoulder to try and help with some bend, because she does find it really tricky, but it is a lot better than it was, that's for sure. And she's halting really squarely, which is lovely to see. And then on the left rein, I think there's quite a noticeable difference of how much softer she is through her body, how much easier she finds it. She does come a little overbent at times. These are quite small circles, and it is quite a steady trot when you think I'm walking and she's trotting. So I think she's not got the strength yet to be able to take her head and neck out, but you know, it's still really early days on the groundwork sessions. But I just absolutely love doing it with her, and today I felt like she was enjoying it as well. Like, she's starting to find it a little bit easier, so yeah, just really love watching it. And downward transitions on this left rein was so much better as well, which was lovely to see. And obviously a little bit of rein back to finish. Still can get a little bit wonky in her rein back, but it's getting better. She's just quite steady. She's just a bit slow with it all, but with time she's going to get stronger and stronger. But I think she's looking good, and I can't believe the progression in her. She's doing well.